Today's show is brought to you by Imperial Yeast. You hear us gushing over Imperial Yeast all the time, and that's because their yeast performs for us in every batch that we brew. Imperial Yeast is adored by commercial breweries and home brewers alike. Their pitch right pouches are jam-packed with over 200 billion fresh yeast cells, guaranteed to deliver flawless, fast fermentations every time. Imperial yeast strains are grown by a team of pro brewers and home brewers who live to help other brewers learn more and ferment better. Join any recipe receiving tier of our Super Duper Homebrew Club and get a free upgrade to premium Imperial yeast with every recipe kit that ships out to you. Learn more at homebrewhappyhour.com/club and come brew with us.
Entertaining shows with content that spreads information and sparks discourse throughout the community. This is the Pearl Media Network.
Getting better head retention, upgrading from buckets, kettle insulation, and fixing a stout that's too dry. This is Homebrew Happy Hour, episode 248. Welcome to the Homebrew Happy Hour. This is the show where we supply the answers to your homebrewing questions and discuss all things related to craft beer. If you have a question you would like us to discuss on a future episode, go to homebrewhappyhour.com and click on that submit a question link at the top of the page. Or now you can call or text them in, but we prefer you call and leave a voicemail to 325-305-6107. I am your host, Joshua Stubing. Today I am joined by the Director of Operations at cmbecker.com down there, Mr. James Carlson, as well as the President and Chief Keg Washer of kegconnection.com right over there beside me, Mr. Todd Burns. Gentlemen, welcome back to another episode.
Hey.
Am I not to the side of you? You had a look when I said that, Todd. You always
you pointed the wrong side.
Oh yeah, you're right there. You're right there, like Brady Bunch. You're right there. James is right there.
Right.
Yeah, that's what everyone else sees. I had someone. There's two things. Y'all don't have to keep messaging me, and by y'all I mean listeners. Every time y'all hear the Imperial ad, I know it's out of date. We're not the Super Duper Homebrew Club. Todd has almost banished me from even saying that phrase. We are the Trub Club is what we have, and I haven't updated the Imperial ad. And also,
is Imperial just not important enough to us, or what? I don't understand.
No, everything else in the ad is right. It's just they sponsor the Trub Club, not the Super Duper Homebrew Club. The Super Duper Homebrew Club's dead. Doesn't exist. But anyway, I also had someone write in and they asked me if, how do you know there's 200 billion cells in their packs? And I said,
we've counted them.
That's what I basically said. I was like, what do you mean? How do I know? Of course, I just take them for their word. So Imperial, Casey, if you're watching this, can you let me know how they can know? I bet it requires more work than necessary. We know because the results of what we get from our brew days. That's the only answer I had to give this person. That wasn't a joke, but anyway, we do have a great episode for everyone. We appreciate y'all tuning in for this I have beautiful weather. Is it cold up there yet, guys? Because this morning it was 54 when I
49 left. Is what it showed in Duster when I left for work.
Isn't that awesome?
Yeah. I went to I went by the convenience store this morning and there were people wearing coats inside. I was like, really? I was wearing shorts and a short sleeve shirt. There were people with full coats on inside.
But to be fair, that's what you wear all the time. You always wear coats. I mean, you always wear shorts and short sleeve. I don't know if you own pants. Even when we went to Prague after the trade show in Nuremberg, the Brew, I remember being freezing cold in Prague and you were walking around in shorts like nothing.
Yeah.
I don't understand. Maybe I'm just kind of prone to the cold, but
no, we had an employee here that it didn't matter year round. He wore shorts.
See, I love pants. I love pant. Well, I prefer getting warm rather than trying to get cooler, if that makes sense. Like the summer, I don't mind it. Take the shirt off, gross out the kids with all the body hair, whatever, and hop in the pool. I don't mind it, but getting warm is easy. I like layers. I like clothes. Anyway, what is that noise? I keep hearing it.
That's
I have no idea. We might have to
Oh, the stir. That's the stir.
Yeah, I'm doing a yeast starter for a German lager I'm doing tomorrow.
We could turn it off for the podcast, right?
Oh, you could.
It won't hurt.
Well, if it settles down, it might pack so much I won't get it stirring again. That's the only reason why I haven't shut it off.
You'll be fine. You'll be fine. I'm glad it was actually relevant. I was expecting to say it's Vilver and he's running this mill thing, or like, you make it a starter. Wait, so
Yeah.
So is it what strain are you using to make the starter? Are you using Harvest?
It's Frankenstein. It was some out of date Harvest. It was some Urkel and Harvest. So I'm combining them together to do kind of a different.
Interesting.
Yeah, Czech German lager, Pilsner,
a Frankenbeer.
You name it. A Frankenbeer, a Frankenlager.
Your Franken ale that you did 4 years ago now.
Yeah, that was a big beer.
It was my Uncle Mike still talks about it. I think he got plastered. He didn't realize, which is what was it like? It was like 8.1 or.
Yeah, it was over 8%.
Yeah, it was like 8.1, 8.2. And we're like, Uncle Mike, gotta be careful. He's like, I'm good. And later, he's like, oh, it was the best party ever to Uncle Mike. Anyway.
That's funny.
Franken lager is great, which with my segue, we're finally getting to outdoor brewing weather. If you're an outdoor brewer in the South, you know what I am talking about. Obviously you electric brewers 24/7, you can brew whenever you want and have decent temperature control. But my pop and I are talking about doing a cooler brew day coming up pretty soon, because the weather forecast seems like we're past the triple digits for sure. And the next 7-day forecast, which I never trust anyway, but it never looks like in San Marcos it's getting above 88. So I think it's safe to say cooler weather ahead, or is there supposed to be some heat thing coming through?
I don't know. It's so hard to say.
Well, we had such a mild summer, right? Like I was hoping the mild summer would bleed into a good fall. And maybe not as cold a winter as last year.
Well, it's going to be back in the 90s this weekend. And I told Todd, Tuesday it's going to be cooler. And they bumped the temperature up again. So it's going to be pushing 90 Tuesday, and then looks like maybe low 80s Friday.
Well, like
if they don't move it.
I shouldn't trust the weather app on my phone, because I've literally had it where the next day it shows 100% chance of rain. And we wake up in the morning and there's no rain. And, oh, no, because the front changed it. Now it's going to be the next day. And then it's wrong. And it's wrong again. So I don't trust you, meteorologist. If it's even a real job anymore. I don't know if they just use computer models. I have no idea what they do. But anyway, outdoor, we're going to have a brew day coming up, which is another segue for our Trub Club. If you join our Trub Club, the monthly recipes, it took me forever to announce it. I did announce it to members of it already, but I don't believe we've talked about it on an episode this month. For this month, you can choose between the Spiced Pumpkin Porter or the Arrogant Bastard Clone, their strong ale, which I've heard is a great recipe. Joe told me that it is spot on. I don't think I've ever had that beer. I know I can get it, right, Todd? They distribute, Stone distributes in Texas, or I never see it in your fridge. I don't know anyone who goes out of their way to buy Stone. Not a knock on you guys, Stone. No,
it used to be available, but the only place I would be able to find it would be Total Wine and More and Specs.
Right. And like I said, my beer experience is usually limited to what can I steal from Todd's beer fridge. And so if Todd, like you had that honey wheat, no, not honey wheat, pardon me. What was was it just a honey pale that you had me try from Community? Last week, which was incredible.
That was good.
It was an incredible beer. When I go to the liquor store or HEB or grocery store or whatever, I'm buying beer that I know I like because I'm a creature of habit. When I go to Todd's house, beggars can't be choosers, and I go, oh, you don't have a lot on tap? Okay, what does he have in here? Ooh, I've never had that. That's when I get to try stuff.
Yeah, I tend to buy stuff that I've never had before.
I know
all the time.
You do, and I think that's a great trait for you. When I go to the store, I'm like, there's Pilsner Urquell, there's Fru Kolsch, fill up my fridge. Okay, I'm a happy guy. I will get my diversity when I go up to the ranch and, again, steal all of Todd's beer. I don't steal it. I drink it because it's not like I'm taking it home. I just open your beer fridge and help myself. But anyway, back to the Trub Club, not the Super Duper Homebrew Club. Go to patreon.com homebrew happy hour to join direct, or you can go to homebrewhappyhour.com/club if you want more details or whatever information about what we're doing with the Chub Club, our monthly recipes. I have never brewed a pumpkin beer, and I've never brewed the Arrogant Bastard. I think right now is a good time to brew a pumpkin beer if you're going to do one, right?
Yeah, it's that time of year.
Do you prefer? I mean, I know, white women. I married a white woman, and I'm half white, so I can talk about white women. They always get pooed on because this is the pumpkin spice latte season, and Ugg boots, and fedora, and leather feathered earrings, and all that. I remember that one. Was it a Bud Light commercial a few years ago where they're like making fun of pumpkin beers? Is it okay to drink pumpkin beers? I guess is what I'm asking.
Sure, you can drink whatever you want. I had a pumpkin beer. When did I have a pumpkin beer? At the Craft Beers Conference. It was good.
Well, and this is a porter. I mean, a pumpkin ale maybe is the more frilly. I don't know. I don't know a good pumpkin beer commercially that, like, do you have one, Todd, that you go, oh, try this one to see what it tastes like?
I can't remember the name of it now. There was one that came out every year from a pretty prominent brewer, but now it totally drawing a blank on it. Sorry.
Oh no, you're good. I mean, it's not like I remember. And like I said, I've never had a pumpkin beer, and I've never had the Arrogant Bastard. I don't think. I know. I mean, Stone was always one of those companies where when I was a kid, it was the top of craft beer, right? Like, I mean, Stone was always known for making good craft beer. Are they even still independent? I don't even know anything about Stone.
Yeah, Stone's. I mean, I still buy Stone beers. Yeah. Dogfish Head. That's who I was trying to think of.
They make a good pumpkin beer.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I think they're considered the best. I mean, that's the standard. The industry standard is the Dogfish Head pumpkin.
And there's
Shipyard is another one that I've seen a lot. I'm looking on Total. I can't remember the names of them, but now that I see them, I definitely have seen these.
All right. You know what? That's what I'll do, Todd. I'm going to place an order. I'm going to go on Specs online. I'm really spoiled by curbside stuff. It's not even a health thing. I don't like going in stores. I don't know why. I don't like doing that whole thing if they can bring it out to me. So I'll make an order, and I'll send you both a screenshot, and y'all tell me yay or nay, and I'll order based off that, and for the weekend.
Okay. Sounds good.
Sounds
very.
I don't like you. And then let's see here. No, that's all I've got for small talk. James, you're brewing tomorrow, I'm assuming, based off your starter. You brewed last week too, right?
Yep.
So is that?
Yeah. So you're brewing a Dos Equis Amber clone or a now I'm drawing a blank on the style of beer.
Vienna Lager.
Vienna Lager, right?
Well, Liz kind of wanted what did she say? A Vienna Lager?
Uh-huh.
So I guess that's what I'll do. It'll be some sort of easy drinking lager beer.
We have the one that she likes, Dos Equis. We have that Dos Equis clone that I've brewed before. I know she likes that one.
Yeah. What are you brewing?
I'm going to brew the other one, the Kolsch.
The Kolsch, okay.
Yeah.
Well, I guess that settles that. Well, I'll do the Dos Equis clone or a Vienna Lager. Probably that's her favorite is the Dos Equis?
Yeah, I mean, it's the only, I don't even know of any other Vienna Lagers commercially.
Right.
Well, I'm sure there are, but I don't know.
What's this Kolsch for the party?
Yeah.
Yeah. Are you doing 15 gallons of it?
No, I'm just going to do 5.
Such a liar.
It was such a stupid question.
Well, because I was trying to get out of you is all 15 for the party.
I mean, I've given you unmitigated hell for brewing less than 15 gallons. And then on the podcast over and over again.
Is all 15 for the party is what I'm getting.
No, some will be for hunting season.
Oh, crap. I forgot. You got so much coming up. Opening seasons in what, 5 weeks, 6 weeks?
But of course, when you hand me a 5-gallon keg of beer, okay. I'll definitely be happy to hand you one.
Deal.
Deal.
What do you want to? I was going to tell
giving is better for your soul than receiving, Josh.
That's not what I tell my I will. You tell me what kind of beer do you need on tap? I mean, my dad.
Oh, you know what? That's what y'all should do. Y'all should brew a beer that you can bring some to the party, so my wife will have all.
That's what I say. Do you want us to brew? One of the best beers we brewed, which I didn't like because I don't like the style, was that Hefeweizen, a Hefeweizen.
Yeah, I actually. So you can ask James. I came into the office with my head down, and I was like, my wife wants me to brew beer for the party. I'm gonna have to brew a Hefeweizen because that's her favorite beer. So I called her up and I said, hey, we're going to end up brewing 2 styles of beer. So what 2 styles of beer do you want? And she was like, Dos Equis Amber, like the Vienna lager that you brewed before, and a Kolsch. And I was like, really? You don't want a Hefeweizen? She goes, no, not that many people drink it. I think those 2 will be better for the party.
That's incredible.
Oh, bless her heart.
Yeah.
Oh, then what if, will you still have plenty of pale ale on tap or you don't?
Oh, I'll have pleny of pale ale.
Okay.
Yeah. What else could we brew? Oh, think about it. It'll be a little colder then. Maybe a porter,
or a breakfast stout?
or a stout or a breakfast stout or something like that.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's what we'll do. We'll do a breakfast stout and I'll do
That'd be awesome. Because that
go.
lasts a whole, you still got some from last year.
We still do have some from last year.
So it lasts forever, right?
And it's always delicious. It's
always delicious. And the older it gets, the better it is. I swear.
That's what my dad says too. I love it. We need to bottle probably what we have left of it because last year when we brewed it, we cracked open bottles from the year before and it was very enjoyable to do that. So yeah, we'll do that. We'll do a breakfast and we'll do James. We'll do a 15 and we'll do one for the party, one for my dad's house, and one for James. We'll do that.
Cool.
We'll do that.
I'll take beer.
Stout. Yeah, and then life will be good.
Well, do you like breakfast stout, James?
I love it. Yeah.
Good.
See, it's a plan.
That'll be
well, let me say this. Everyone that Josh has brewed, I've absolutely loved.
Dude, I appreciate that. That really
yeah. It's his specialty.
You say
you're the man when it comes to that.
I'd like to give thanks first to Folgers. I mean, without Folgers,
it works. It tastes really good.
Without Folgers, where would we be with that recipe? I mean, it could be too rich or but no, it is straight smooth, like the good people at Folgers. This episode's brought to you by Folgers. Anyway, that right now, let me segue us because it is time.
It's time for listener feedback.
I don't have an audio one this week, but it was from a YouTube comment from our buddy Gilbert. He's very active on our social. We love Gilbert. He wrote as a comment for last week's episode, I always keep a pack of US 05 on hand, the safe fail dry yeast we were talking about in last week's episode. I prefer liquid yeast, but I've brewed for 14 years now, and I know that something always can go wrong. Luck favors the prepared. Also, I sprinkle. I've never had an issue with it. And to me, rehydration of dry yeast is just adding another potential risk of infection. Those are great points, Gilbert.
Yep.
The sprinkle, like I said, I think we all agreed last week that we sprinkle because it's not worth the effort to have to rehydrate it. It's worked for us every time.
Yep.
And I haven't, believe it or not, even though most weeks I get good arguments on either side, no one who's replied to me, whether it was through, I had some Instagram messages, YouTube comments, and emails, no one said that they did not sprinkle. Everyone said, I've never actually rehydrated. I never thought to. I just sprinkle it. So funny. Maybe we all share that same quirk, but
we're all sprinklers. That's what I said. I said, everybody's a sprinkler.
Nobody rehydrates.
Yeah.
Nobody uses a brew bag.
So the one time I try to get hate mail, I'm actually right.
Yeah,
That's
you're
terrible.
right. You're right. No one replied. Yeah. So anyways, after the listener feedback, we do have 4 questions for you guys, starting with our first one.
Is this the one? Should we edit this one at all? I'm not sure. That last sentence may not fit our family-friendly policy.
Yeah, we do need to put, I do need to add some context. We're talking about retention of head for beer. So with that being said, it came from our buddy Thomas, who used the submission form at homebrewhappyhour.com. Thomas wrote, hey Josh, I wanted to let you guys know I am a huge fan of Homebrew Happy Hour. I'd like to talk about head retention. I'm only a dozen or so batches in, but none of them have ever had what I would consider to be good head retention. Do you think this is due to my carbonation method, or do you think this is due to my brewing method? Possibly both. It doesn't matter the style. I can't seem to get good head. Can't seem to get
Thomas, I can't seem to get good head either. I know where you're coming from, my friend.
Are you done? You're a child. Are you done?
It was like a dog waiting to spring. Oh, go.
This is my I think I have that sound effect somewhere. No, I don't.
This is definitely a James question because I always get good. I mean, my beers seem to always have good head. I don't know why.
I was gonna say,
I have no idea what I'm doing or why.
Kidding aside, I knew it was a James question because of just, James has more insight of what may have caused it or not, but also because I will give you credit, Todd, and I've always assumed a lot of it was how good at carbonation you are. But you're right, beers off your tap usually have very good retention, even the beers you bottle. James, what is Todd doing right that he keeps getting such good head retention?
I don't know. A lot of our recipes have some kind of protein malt, like Cara Pills or Cara Foam, and we really try to include a little protein content in the kits that we sell. And I've always had real good luck as long as I use some type of Cara. Mm-hmm. Cara Pills is usually what I use. I don't think I've ever used Cara Foam, but basically it's protein that is what causes the foam. I think that the absence of that, and it could be you see a lot of highly modified malt, especially if you've got a light malt. Another thing that can add good head retention would be wheat because it's high in proteins. That's really all I can tell you, and that's what I've run into. Is I seem to have good luck using Cara Pills or Cara for
Thomas. So you would say, and his is probably on the brewing side and ingredient side more.
I think so,
more than the carbonate. Like you've never had carbonation, because I would assume with carbonation, if you feel like it's not carbonated enough, you can resolve that, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then you'd know if it was carbonation or not.
Right. Yeah. Like another thing, if you're brewing a lot with the lighter adjuncts, and I call adjuncts corn, rice, or even just straight sugar, there's no protein, or very, very low, not enough to produce any kind of beer head. If you're using a lot of that and you only see that mostly with all grain brewers.
Yeah.
But we typically, when we're brewing, we're usually brewing a lot. Basically, we're using 2-row or Pilsen. Don't do a lot of brewing with corn, rice, or sugar.
Right. Yeah, that's interesting. And Todd, are you doodling the answer? You can't cheat, man.
Oh, okay. So I was going to tell you, he's really hot in the mic.
Is it popping?
Well, it's just really he's like twice as loud as you are.
Oh, maybe James, try turning down on the onboard the output of your mic. I wasn't noticing it. He was coming through clear for me.
How about that?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah.
Mic check.
Check.
See, now it's too quiet on my end.
Yeah, now it's too quiet. Maybe somewhere in between there. Sorry.
Okay, how about that, Todd?
That's better. Good? That's better. Yeah.
It seems fine to me.
It really. Oh, maybe it's my headset, but you're a lot quieter than he is. It was just like super loud.
Well, on my end, I'm using we use OBS, and I have an audiometer, and we're all in that same range. That's why I didn't think anything. But you know what though? I will get people commenting and go, no, Todd was right. It was popping. And I'll get some people going, no, it was fine. That happens almost every episode with any given one of our mics. So you sound great to me, James. Okay. But back to Thomas's question, because I'm not editing any of that out, because this is going to publish right after this. Todd, for you, again, Carbonation Master, is there ever a time when you know it was the ingredients fault or the carbonation fault? Like, I mean, I guess if the beer was a little flat is when you would know it was the carbonation fault. I'm trying to just see if there's like a rule of thumb he can follow, like James was saying.
Well,
go ahead.
We brew all kinds of recipes. Use Hells or Pels, or we have all these different ones that we can use to get better head retention. But if it's happening to him on every brew, it seems like maybe he's getting something in his beer that's killing the head retention. Would be something to look at, or maybe sometimes it could be a cleaning issue,
right? Or even glassware, right?
A soap or something like that. That's that's getting in there and actually killing his head retention.
Good point. Because a dozen brews, I'm assuming, Thomas, let me know. I'm assuming he's not doing the same recipe a dozen times. He was probably all over the spectrum of styles. So that's a good point, Todd. It could be soap. I know having soap residual in my glass gives the appearance of lacking head on the beer.
Yeah, maybe look at what you're using to clean with. I don't know if you're using Brew Clean or some other cleaner, but maybe try to use a different cleaner. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, James.
No, you're good. Go ahead.
No, that was all I had to say. I'm just pretty much done. I don't know what else to say. So.
One thing that certain types of oils can do that as well. So that there's a lot of oils, certain types of oils and certain types of detergents and cleaners that can cause that. So Todd's absolutely right. One thing that I notice is I drink a lot of milk, and I inadvertently poured a beer in a glass that I had drank milk in, and it completely killed the foam.
Did it?
Yeah, it did. I mean,
could it still taste fine though? Because I mean, the milk.
Yeah, I mean, it was still, well, I say that because when you don't have foam, like Michael used to say, "Where's the foam?
Where's the foam?"
And
no, he used to say,
the other
he
words.
used to say, that is the head.
Yeah,
that is the head.
I've seen it.
Inevitably, it would be some cute girl in a bar that served him a beer, and he would go, "That is the head."
Oh no!
Yes.
So
that's something to think about. So Todd, I think Todd's more on the right track as far as your problem with head retention. Could be as simple as what you're using to wash your equipment with.
Interesting. I like this question because we can troubleshoot from a bunch of different areas and then determine what it is, right? I think for me, Thomas, your most benign answer that I'm rooting for is that it might be the soap you're using. Because that, like I can see how it'd be frustrating if you're like 12 recipes in. Darn it, what am I doing wrong? You're probably not doing anything wrong with your recipes. I bet you're brewing just fine. And it could be the soap you're using or, I was also not inclined to think it was carbonation methods just because that's a very easy one to troubleshoot too in real time. Like the beer, I'm going to add some more to it. Okay, no, it's still not retaining it. It wasn't that. And also too, that's more superficial head if that was the issue as opposed to actual retention from a solid beer. Does that make sense?
Yes, absolutely. Okay. I mean, if you're having foaming issues, then you may get a lot of head that you don't want, which is kind of different than head.
Correct.
That makes sense.
It did. It made sense. And we can get off this question now because you can't stop giggling like a schoolgirl. So, Thomas,
good luck with your head, Thomas.
Thomas, I got to edit. I'm not going to edit this episode. I need to. Thank you so much, Thomas, for submitting your question. This is a great time to remind you, if and when we take your question on a future episode, we do give you a $25 gift card to kegconnection.com. Moving on to question number 2 was a text message from our buddy William. The hotline is 325-305-6107. William wrote, I currently use a bucket for my 5-gallon brew days. I don't have any plans right now to brew more than 5 gallons, but I did want to upgrade my fermentation side. If I did pick up a 10-gallon or larger stainless steel conical, would putting 5-gallon batches in it be bad? I could just save the money and get a conical for 5-gallon batches. We know what Todd's going to say, so I'm going to let Todd say it.
Get as big as you can afford. It won't hurt anything to ferment it in a larger bucket. I mean, when you're fermenting, the only problem in a vessel might be that you have a lot of air, but when you're fermenting, it's okay to have a lot of oxygen and air. So, and that'll all go away as soon as you start fermenting and it starts pushing it out the top.
CO2 starts pushing it out.
Yeah.
Right. I knew, and I figured you're going to chastise William, and I think he knew when he texted it in because I replied to him and I said, hey, we're going to use your question this week. And he goes, I'm expecting Todd to give me hell for only brewing 5-gallon batches. I was like, yes, me too. I am totally expecting, if you're going to buy the equipment, you should be brewing in the batches. That's what I thought pardon me.
He's going to come around. Once he gets that bigger fermenter, he's going to say, why am I brewing 5-gallon batches? I get twice as much beer for the same amount of time if I do a 10-gallon batch, and I could send half of it to Todd if I don't want.
There you go.
Hey, here, I don't want to make y'all jealous. We have a listener. I'll add his Instagram in the show notes. Matt, he is coming to San Marcos. He lives in Corpus, and he's bringing beer because he wants my opinion. Can y'all believe it? He wants my opinion.
That's cool.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. He's coming to San Marcos for some trip with his family, his wife, and they're hanging out. And he goes, oh, I've got some beer. I'd love your opinion. And I was like, do you know that I have the worst palate of the whole bunch? Like, I don't know if you, like, I'm the Andy from The Office of opinions. That food is good. That food is not as good. So I hope he's not expecting too much.
Can I shame you on the podcast? I know it's unusual.
Whoa, wow, go ahead.
My beer cooler is half full of beer that people have given you, and I'm not allowed to drink it, but you never drink it or do anything with it. What are we going to do with all that beer?
Okay, when I'm up next week, let's start drinking it.
I bet I have more than a case of beer in there that's from people.
I'll get
really?
there.
Wow.
James, why don't you help out?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Well,
I have a daughter that drives now, so
Hey.
Can she come pick you up?
if I could get her away from her friends, yeah.
Oh, guys, the teenage daughters.
Dad's kind of an afterthought when they hit 16 and they're free.
And this was Todd 4 years ago talking about that, and now it's you, and in 4 years it's going to be me. Not even 4 years. Oh my God, my oldest will be a teenager in 2 years.
2 years.
Oh my gosh, she'll be 13 in 2 years.
Yeah, enjoy.
No, she still likes me, and I'm funny and smart. So I don't want that to die. Anyways, back to William's question. I like these questions, and I'm glad, Todd. I mean, I'll wrap this question up because you already did. You nailed everything I wanted to talk about. A lot of people have a misconception that the space in your fermenter is going to be detrimental because, like you said, there's more room for oxygen to be in and whatever. But the act of fermentation creates so much CO2. I can't imagine the discrepancy you'd need between your batch and the rest of the volume size that's empty for it to possibly cause issues, because 5 gallon in a 10 gallon or a 5 gallon in a 15 gallon fermenter is going to create enough CO2 that it won't be an issue, right?
This is going to push it and end up pushing everything out besides CO2. So yeah, it's not an issue. You can always grow.
Yeah, and Todd, yes, and Todd will give you hell, but I think the point we've always made: if you can afford the larger, rarely is a home brewer that gets serious about it stayed at 5 gallons only forever. At some point, you start doing the cooler brewing 10 gallon or the electric brewing 10 gallon or double brew days. We have a lot of people, they brew in like a grain father and they do double brew days because they like having the variety or whatever on their taps, right? And they don't want to brew like back-to-back days. They'll just do a long day, start early morning, wrap up in the evening. I think brewing in larger volumes than 5 gallons is a very common thing. So if you can afford the upgrade now, you should do the upgrade now. That was your point, right, Todd?
Yeah.
Yeah. If you can afford it now, do it now. And I think that's for anything with home brewing. You're like, should I get just a 10 gallon system, even though in the future I might want to do 15, or just save up a little longer and get the 15 when you can afford it.
Don't pay for equipment twice. Like I do. You know.
My only regret with my 20 gallon brewing system is it just doesn't brew enough beer.
That's true. Yeah.
And you tell me though that we're not going to start up the microbrew, the pub, the Kolsch and alt beer and tacos. Remember?
I think you should.
I think you should. I need your backing. Anyways.
Oh.
William, thank you so much for submitting that question. Moving on to our third question. Came from our buddy Harold, who used the submission form at homebrewhappyhour.com. Harold wrote, fellas, I'm an intermediate brewer, and I saw an ad on Facebook for kettle insulation. It looks like some neoprene sleeve. Interested, I clicked on the ad, but nowhere in the description did it really explain why a brewer would need this. So I figured I would ask the pros. But he messaged us. Why would I need insulation for my kettle? Todd, this question reminded me of you in that you use insulation to keep the temperature up from when you set your water to temp the night before, and you don't want it to drop too much the next day. Sometimes you don't use insulation, but I've seen you use it for that, or was it not for that?
Well, I mean, I have mine wrapped. I had mine wrapped in insulation. It's not, the new one is not, I don't believe, but we just bought basically sheets of insulation. I'm going to let James explain that. But what I would say is sometimes if I'm trying to keep the water warmer overnight after I've turned it off, I'll actually even throw blankets on top and stuff like that.
And everything's off though. Let's make that very
everything's
clear.
off.
Everything's
off. But when I'm brewing, I do it because I feel like I could probably get better consistency if I've got insulation in the mash tun. So, but you don't have to. You certainly don't have to have it. It just, you're going to get heat that dissipates out of the vessel if it's not insulated, and it's more efficient if it is insulated.
Yeah, the boil kettle would be the very last thing I'd ever want to insulate because I'm wanting to get as much heat out of that as possible after the boil.
Yeah.
The only time I would insulate anything would be the Herms vessel and the mash tun.
Mm-hmm.
Because Todd's right. If you insulate it, it'll hold the temperature better. It won't bleed out. Temperature, you won't have a temperature loss like you would if it was, because it acts like a big, huge heat sink. So it's radiating heat off the sidewalls of the kettle and the mash, the Herms vessel, the Herms kettle and the mash, or I keep saying kettle, vessel, the Herms vessel pot and the mash vessel pot. We ideally would want to insulate those. The boil pot, not so much, also because it gets pretty hot too. So we use closed cell foam we buy from a manufacturer here in Texas. It works real good. It looks just like something that you would see on a diving suit, a scuba diving suit.
Yeah, it's like neoprene kind of. It's very thick and almost kind of squishy, just like those. Yeah, so I don't know where you got that, but you also then you tape it on with that tape that we use for
trunk line tape.
But you could use that Gorilla Tape or something like that would probably work well too, or even good old fashioned, God love it, duct tape, right?
Oh yeah, yeah. But another thing to keep in mind: do not insulate your boil kettle, especially if you're using propane, because that heat goes around the outside and it'll catch fire.
Man, I was just about to be Safety Officer Josh and ask. I could have sworn neoprene is pretty freaking not retardant, flammable. Thank you. I should edit that out so I don't look like an idiot, but I'm not gonna. Neoprene is super flammable, right?
Oh yeah,
yeah.
So if you're using propane, it's especially not on your boil kettle. I should have asked Harold, because he might be like me and my dad, where like when we were cooler brewing, the kettle in our minds, people use kettles for mash tuns all the time. But in our minds, using a cooler system, if I saw an ad for the kettle, I would think immediately it's specifically for boiling, for the boil kettle. And I would say the same thing as you, James. Like, wait, why do I want to insulate the boil kettle? I don't want it to keep the hot as much as possible when we're done.
Why would you assume the boil kettle was?
I'm saying because if we were cooler brewing and it was showing an ad with a picture of a kettle with a thing on it.
If you were cooler brewing,
in our setup there, our hot liquor tank is a cooler. Our mash tun is a cooler, and the kettle's on. So I'm saying that might be what's going on with Harold too, where he's been brewing a while, but maybe in context of his life, the kettle's for boil, not used as a mash vessel, right? I mean, like on the Herm setup, they're all kettles. The hot liquor tank's a kettle, technically speaking. The mash tun,
but the brew in the baggers could probably use their bowl kettle for mashing in a bag.
You're right,
but you would want to take the insulation off after you're done mashing.
Good point. And that might be what, and insulation, like you said, wouldn't be the worst thing in the world. It could end up being pretty versatile in your setup. You use it on your mash tun to keep it in, because that is when the consistency matters the most in my eyes, in regards to, like, I want to be able to keep that 152 at 152 or whatever, 150, that entire hour, which, speaking of cooler brew, not to do a sales pitch, they're not on sale or anything, but that cooler brew system, that video, the most impressive part to me of that brew day, and y'all had to show the thermometer to show you weren't lying, is it held temperature that the whole hour. It held it to a T. And every brew day we do on it too, my pop and I, holds that temperature to a T. Those are well insulated coolers. I'm very impressed. And they're not the Gatorade coolers. Were they enhanced at all for brewing, Todd, or are they basically Gatorade coolers?
They're a little thicker, yeah.
Okay. And I say Gatorade, I just Igloo is the brand that
Yeah, I don't know what you meant by Gatorade, but yeah.
Well, just the coolers that always have the Gatorade stickers.
They say Gatorade on them, you mean?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, you've had Gatorade, right? The electrolyte drink. Gatorade.
Yes.
Okay.
But I've never had it out of a cooler.
No.
Yeah, that's the way I think you're referring to like after a football game when they dump the coach.
Yes, exactly.
It's always an orange cooler and it's always Gatorade inside.
Exactly.
Okay.
Can you imagine if it was beer?
And I don't watch sports.
I'll just say you don't watch sports. James, you would have thought I broke his brain last time we were in the morning waiting for, like, we were blocked in. It was the time he had to off-road us to get to the office. I had to get out of the truck. I was terrified. He called me a sissy. But I had on sumo. It's the September tournament in Japan for sumo. They do tournaments pretty much every other month. I love the sport.
I can't watch that. That is so boring.
See, that's what Todd said.
Josh, nobody cares on the podcast about sumo wrestling.
Listen.
Hey, Todd actually watched Cowboys.
Hey, that was a damn good Cowboys game.
It was a good game, wasn't it?
It was damn
But you won't watch sumo?
Yeah.
It was. I'm telling you, they put on a show. That was the first game where they played Tampa Bay.
My wife
so close to winning. That was such a good game.
I didn't watch it.
They won the next game, James.
They did, and everybody picked them to lose.
Yeah.
So
maybe our year.
Year.
Hopefully.
What is this? Our year. My wife.
Hey, he went to a game. He
did.
Yeah. I've been to. How many Cowboys games have you been to, Josh?
I've never. No, I'm not an NFL. I don't watch NFL. I've never been in the NFL. I respect it, though. I will say this, and then Harold, thank you for submitting the question. I will say this. NFL, like starting players in the NFL, and probably all of the benchers I will argue, they're the best athletes in the world. They're the absolute best. I'm not saying it's the most athletically required sport as much as those guys are absolute. I've trained brand new. His name is Roberto Garza. He was with the Jets for forever. And when he retired, he lives in this area and his son still trains, but he works for like ESPN Deportes now. So he doesn't come in as much. His first day, we're talking, he's ripped 350 whatever pounds. He was a center, James, he's
a big guy.
We're all centers, Josh.
No, he was a center for not the Jets. He retired with the Jets with the you're a jerk.
It sounded like you said center.
I have a speech impediment. Anyway, James, he was a center and with the Bears. That's who I think he was with for forever. I think he has the record of starts for that position, and really bright guy. Anyway, his first day in this class, he could murder me. I've been doing jujitsu at that point for 7 or 8 years. I'm like, if he wanted my wallet, you have my wallet. You don't need to
just ragged all your ass.
Oh yeah, well I was doing a thing and I'm from bottom and it's like the coach, his name's Ryan. Like, what would you do in this position? He just stands up and I'm holding on for dear life. Like, how the heck did you like? They're the best athletes in the world. I'll say that, but. If you're interested in sumo and you want a $25 gift card, submit a question and tell me you love sumo, and I'll include you on it. My wife calls me a weeb. I've always loved Japanese culture,
and I'm going to hold him up to that. He's personally going to supply that $25 gift card. Where is the $25 gift card going to be for? Like sumowrestling.com or something?
No, they're going to ask a question, and if they want me to take it on a future episode, they'll suck up about sumo. That's what I mean. Like,
I'm not paying for that one.
Okay, deal. Okay, I'll pay for that one. Harold, really though, thank you so much for submitting your question. Yeah, the Neo, send me the ad and we'll look at it. But I suspect it's like what James you were talking about, where it's one of those versatile ones where Brewing and Baggers would use it for part of it, and Herm's Brewers could use it for part of it, like y'all have as well. But do not use it for the boiling side of stuff. You don't need it. You really don't want it, and especially if you're brewing with gas, you're gonna have a bad day with neoprene and flames. So moving on to our fourth and final question, came from our buddy Evan, who texted in to 325-305-6107. He wrote, "My stout finished very dry with no discernible sweetness at all. Can I do anything about this after the fact, or am I stuck with the Sahara Desert of stouts?" I don't know if you can batch sweeten a stout.
It's too risky. I mean, lactose, it is possible you could do a lactose tea, if it's 5-gallon batch, you do less than a half a pound. Don't less is always more, and maybe try it that way. But you risk oxidizing the beer. And I would just say this, and bear through it, drink the beer. And then the next time you brew a batch, throw a half a pound or less of lactose in there. Do it at the end of the boil, like 10 minutes, 15 minutes before the end of the boil, and put that in there and see what a difference that'll make. I think you'll see a huge difference in the way it tastes, and mouthfeel, body, all of that.
Todd is the king of dry beers. Have you ever had too dry of a beer?
I love dry stouts too. I love dry stouts. You should send it to me. It's just going to waste if you don't like it. Send it to me, and I will drink it for you as a personal favor.
I actually feel bad.
Dry beer is kind of our thing.
I was just say, I mean, Todd likes it really dry, but I appreciate it, especially like you said, stout. That's one of my favorite styles to be dry.
It's funny. I'm sorry, but it is very funny because I really like dry stouts, but I also like milk stouts, which are a very sweet stout. But I've always liked milk stouts. It's one of the only sweet beers I like.
And when the breakfast stout,
Josh's stout,
that breakfast stout is sweet. It's very malty. It's very sweet.
Yeah, that's his special.
But it's good balance. But and not to just keep the sucking up going around. Todd's malt stout was the best. The last batch you did last year, this time, or it was like November, you brewed it. Best malt stout ever. That I mean, it was incredible. We have our 200th episode. I just watched it because I believe that was the last time we took a question about head retention. And I was telling y'all before we recorded, I think it's good. 50-ish episodes or 48 episodes is good distance to take this similar kind of question. But I was watching that episode, and I was telling Todd most of it, like how incredible. We were drinking it off the tap. You had it on tap at the barn for the 200th episode we were brewing. And I think I said a million times on that episode how incredible that malt stout turned out. And that was a party favorite at my parents' Christmas party last year. Everyone loved that. And obviously the breakfast stout. But the breakfast stout was one where a lot of people, it's not one a lot of people drink more than one glass of in the night.
Sure.
Not just the ABV. It's just like, I got that sweetness. Now I want the IPA or something else.
Well, yeah. I mean, you drink a glass of it and you're like, I just ate a loaf of bread with 10% alcohol in it. So, yeah.
If they $1 million idea, alcoholic Wonder Bread. If they're doing it with Mountain Dew, we can do it with Wonder Bread. That's my next marketing idea. I'm an idea guy, Todd. That's why you keep me around.
Yep. Yep.
No. So are we in agreement that there's not a lot you can do after the fact? Besides, like you said, the lactose tea would be his best bet.
Yeah, but it would be too big of a risk. I wouldn't chance it.
I think we should throw it out to listeners. I really don't know the answer. I don't know how you could sweeten a beer. The lactose makes total sense to me, but then you mentioned the thing about that you might could. I don't know because that would have oxygen in it because it hasn't fermented. So you think it would introduce oxygen and then oxygenate. I would have never thought of that, James. I'm glad you told me that, so I didn't try it sometime.
Yeah, I mean, you would have to be real careful. Like, I'd probably take a funnel with some pretty thick, pretty like 5/8 ID silicone hose, and then have enough to where you can fill the funnel completely up, but put the tube in the keg into the beer, and then slowly, gradually pour it into the funnel, and then lift the tube out of the keg so you don't have any splashing. No, you don't introduce any oxygen. That would be the best way I know of to add anything to a keg.
And in a future brew days, let's say he did the recipe to a T, whether it's his own or recipe kit he bought, what could he do with that same recipe to make it sweeter that you would recommend? More lactose?
That same recipe, just add some lactose.
Yeah, just the lactose. I was just saying any other adjuncts, but just add the lactose. And
well, if you're doing all grain and you're mashing, you can mash it in the alpha range instead of the beta. So in 155 to 159 degrees, you can mash it in that range, and it'll create those longer sugar chains that get ate on the end by the yeast and leave the little section in the middle, that sugar chain in there. That's what creates the body and the sweetness. So you can technically do it by mashing.
And of course, he could always just not let it ferment as long, and stop it at 118 or something like that. Instead of trying to get. I don't know what he went to. Did he tell us what he went to?
No, he didn't. And I'm going to ask you is your favorite method of stopping cold crashing? Is that y'all's favorite method of stopping? That's what I was thinking. It is the easiest, right?
Yep.
Throw it in. It doesn't have to be even a secondary transfer. Just put if it's a bucket or whatever, drop that temperature down. Or if it's a nice glycol conical like you spoiled guys have, you just drop it down the temperature in real time. You're immediately, right?
Yeah, just push the button.
Evan, just push the button. I don't know a button. I have a bucket.
Yeah, stop. Because anytime I have a sweet beer and I go, God, this is too sweet, it's because my fermentation died and at 118 or something like that. So
yeah. But again, Evan, 1800 EDC Parkway, Comanche, Texas.
Yep.
76442. Address to please drink this Todd Burns. I promise you, it'll get consumed here.
I will drink it.
He will drink it all before I even get to town. That's Todd's favorite thing to do is open up beer mail that's messaged to me and rub it in my face. Say, you're not here. So we need to get some more beer mail. I'm gonna if our Instagram buddy brings enough, I'll bring that up so we could get everyone's opinion on his beer. Because I genuinely do like having. I like the different perspectives we bring. Because for me, I feel a lot of pressure sometimes when trying a beer, even if it's a commercial beer that someone loves, like, hey, tell me what you think to this. I almost come up with reasons to talk more as opposed to just saying, pretty good. I could just leave it at that, but I'm like, oh yeah, that hint of molasses reminds me. I turn into a J. Peterman catalog entry and it's just not, it's just too much. Like I do on this show when I just babble and babble. And then Todd gives me that look he's giving me right now, which is my signal to wrap up the show. Guys, that's all we have for this week. I appreciate y'all's time. And James, please let me know how the lager turns out. Was your batch from last week? What is your ETA on that? 3 weeks, 4 weeks? I don't know how you.
We had to use a different style of yeast because we were out of the one I wanted to use with Imperial. So it's taking it's running a little longer fermentation wise. So I'm hoping we're probably looking at 10 to 14 days for primary before I can cold crash it.
And Todd, you have no brew, the brew days for the party?
No, I'm definitely brewing. I'm brewing either tomorrow or Saturday. At
the barn, I'm assuming.
Yep.
Awesome. Well, and I was going to tell y'all off air, but I might as well include it so I don't have to call y'all again. Real Ale hasn't announced if they're doing anything, but I'm trying to get us glassware. That's been my tradition, is to try to get y'all glassware most years for their Oktoberfest. So I'm hoping, in years past when I had a press pass one year and they give us, the partying is what I like doing, but the glassware, y'all both have at least a few, don't you? Or
yeah, I mean, I would like to go. I mean, I think it'd be a fun thing.
I'd be willing to bet you $5 they're not having it in person again. It doesn't seem like they are, but I'm hoping they do glassware because I'd love to bring y'all that again this year. So anyways, thank y'all for your time, guys. I'll talk to y'all later.
Thank you.
See ya.
And that will do it for this episode of the Homebrew Happy Hour. If you have a question you would like us to discuss on a future episode, go to homebrewhappyhour.com and click on that submit a question link at the top of the page, or you can call or text them in by using 325-305-6107. Thank you to our show sponsor, Imperial Yeast. You'll get a free pack of Imperial Yeast with your monthly recipe kit when you join our Chub Club. So go to homebrewhappyhour.com/club to learn more. On behalf of Todd Burns, James Carlson, and the Pearl Media Network, I'm Joshua Stubing. Thank you for listening.